VDGR returns 10.75% last financial year. VDHG returns 13.11. On 100 grand, that's $2,360 you didn't get in 1 year. That's not an accident. 30% of VDGR is deliberately invested in things that drag your portfolio when shares are flying. So is that 30% dead weight? Or is it doing a job that you can't see?
Should I buy that ETF?
VDGR, the Vanguard Diversified Growth Index ETF. It's one trade and it's an entire portfolio in a box. The formula is pretty simple, 70% growth assets and 30% in defensive assets. Inside it, you've got Australian shares, international shares, emerging markets, bonds, and Vanguard handles the mix and rebalances it for you. The fee's super cheap at 0.27%, and on 100K, that's $270 a year. So it's a really cheap fund. But the interesting thing isn't what VDGR holds. It's why Vanguard put 30% into stuff designed to underperform. Diversification gets explained terribly. People hear diversified and think more investments equals more return. Not really. Real diversification just means that you're never all in on one outcome. So Australian shares can tank while international shares do well. Bonds can stabilise while shares panic. It just gives you different exposure to different economies and different cycles all in one. But here's the annoying part that nobody prints on the brochure. Something you own will always disappoint you. If US shares are ripping, you'll wonder why you own Australian shares. If shares are booming, bonds look stupid. If Aussie shares suddenly outperform, that international allocation feels like a drag. That's not diversification failing. That's diversification working exactly how it's meant to. You're effectively accepting that you will never own 100% of what wins, because nobody can tell you what is going to win next. We've got two investors, 100 grand each. The first one goes all in on shares. The second one uses a 70-30 portfolio like VDGR. Shares have an absolute ripper in that financial year, a 20% return. Defensive assets do 4%. The all-share portfolio is now worth $120,000, where the 70-30 portfolio is worth about 115 grand. That's 4.5 grand less than if you had just been all in shares. And you know exactly what investor two is thinking. It's why did I own these bonds to begin with? But you need to flip it to look at what happens on the other side. If shares fall 25%, defensive assets tick up 3%. The all-share portfolio is worth $75,000, where the other portfolio is worth $83,400. That's an $8,400 gap the other way around. Now, bonds don't always rise when shares fall. 2022 proved that. But when markets are functioning normally, they often act as a counterbalance. This isn't really a prediction, it's just the trade-off that can happen. You can't get the protection of diversification in bad markets without accepting the frustration in good ones. That is, sometimes you've got to accept that you will get lower returns so that you can protect yourself in the future. So before you buy VDGR, I'd ask three things. What job is this money doing? Vanguard reckons 7 years is the minimum holding period for this portfolio. Now, the problem with that is if you're trying to buy a house in 2 years' time, then it doesn't really make a lot of sense to invest in something that has such a high growth allocation. Now, you might say there's that defensive layer, but that's not enough to protect you if we go through some long period of downside. The fact it owns bonds doesn't make it safe. It's still 70% shares. Number two is, what do you already own? Don't forget your super. If your super's already in diversified growth option and you're holding Australian and international ETFs outside super, adding VDGR might just be buying the same stuff twice. More ETFs doesn't automatically mean more diversification. Number three, can you actually wear the strategy? Not, I'm comfortable with risk, because everybody really says that when markets are going up. It's could you watch 100 grand turn into 80 and not bail on your entire strategy? Because that's the question that actually matters. Now, of course, there's an obvious alternative to this portfolio. Just find the investments that are going to outperform. But unfortunately, that's brutally hard to do consistently. S&P's Australian SPIVA research over the 15 years to the end of 2025 says that about 87% of Aussie equity general funds underperformed their benchmarks. For global equity funds, the long-term underperformance was even higher. That does not mean that active investing never works, and it definitely doesn't prove a 70-30 beats 100% shares. The lesson's a little bit simpler. Consistently picking tomorrow's winners is really hard. An index strategic portfolio like VDGR takes a different approach. Don't try to pick the winners, just own the market. Keep your costs low and choose your risk level. And then as time goes on, the fund will just do the rebalancing and keep working as it needs to do. It doesn't work because it predicts what's next. It works because it removes the need to think about what to invest in next. So that leaves us with the question, is 30% of VDGR dead weight? Sometimes it's going to feel like that. But that's the point. VDGR is not designed to maximize your return when shares are booming. It's designed to give you broad diversification, a set level of risk, and automatic rebalancing, all in one trade. It's returned 7.96% a year since inception. And honestly, you can absolutely find ETFs that have done way better than that. But if you're comparing VDGR to a 100% share portfolio, you're comparing different amounts of risk. If you want maximum growth, this portfolio is not built for that. If you want total control over every allocation, it's not that either. If this money is needed short term, a diversified ETF doesn't magically remove market risk either. But if your job is long-term investing, broad diversification, meaningful growth exposure, and less responsibility for managing the portfolio yourself, then the 30% that occasionally annoys you is probably doing exactly what you bought it to do. So here's my question. Would you accept earning less when shares are booming if it meant taking less growth risk when they're not? Drop your answer in the comments. And in the next episode, we're going to continue exploring Australia's top ETFs. Subscribe to be a part of it.